Welcome to the Feisworld podcast, engaging conversations that cross the boundaries between business, art, and the digital world.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Feisworld podcast. I am your host, Fei Wu. This is part 2 of my conversation with the lovely Lee Skunnes. I highly encourage you to listen to part 1 as well, where we discuss practical philosophy, love and relationships, and what it's like to be a full-time yoga teacher and much, much more. In this episode, Lee talks about his fascinating yoga workshops at one of my favorite yoga studios, Coolidge Corner Yoga in Brookline, Massachusetts, focusing on the topic chakra, which represents energy and spiritual power in the human body. Furthermore, we discuss if openness and curiosities are something people are born with and things that are chosen for them. Lee shares his stories of revealing his sexuality to his sister and parents, a sweet story that involves a post-it note. Without further ado, I hope to indulge you, my listeners, today with a brief recording of Lee's singing. You can find all 3 full recordings at the end of this podcast. Lee is a fearless artist who didn't reject the idea of having me do this in an empty room, nothing representative of a professional recording studio. I love being his audience. If you enjoy this podcast, please help me write a review on iTunes and hope you check out the other episodes as well, where I interview unsung heroes from all walks of life. All the tools and resources will be available on the website as well, feisworld.com. Thank you so much for stopping by and being part of this incredible journey.
It's not the pale moon that excites me, that thrills and delights me. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you. It isn't your sweet conversation that brings this sensation. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you.
In addition to my monthly membership, I signed up for your chakra workshop about a month ago. Sorry, I'm getting old.
No,
maybe it could be
okay.
4 months ago.
It's a couple months ago.
Okay, great. For the first time I got it right. And it was really amazing. I wonder, as a student of yours, of yoga, that was something that I was interested in, even though I didn't even share it with you. And the workshop was really packed and we all enjoyed it. So I'd love to welcome you to do it again, but maybe you can give my audience an idea of what you did.
Yeah, so I'm actually doing one in January. I'm doing the 3rd chakra. I just did one on the 5th chakra, which, for those of you who don't know the chakras, it's a system of the body that, for most, is seen as there are 7 different centers of your body, and in that, each chakra tends to have things that are related to each of the chakras. And so the 5th chakra has to do with communication and how you give and how you receive it. And it's the chakra between your heart and your mind. So it's the bridge between the two. How do you speak your mind and how do you speak your heart? And how do you find the dance between the two and how to communicate that? And the jaw has residual effects of what gets lodged in there. Whether that be energetically or in the muscles, they all intertwine. It's not like you can pull one apart, or where that starts to send things in other parts of your body. And a great way to think about it too is that 1 starts at the bottom and 7 is at the top. If 1 is lodged, like the base one is lodged, if 1st is lodged, then you're guaranteed to have the rest of them locked up. And if the 2nd one's out, it's guaranteed. So it's like an up, from a bottom-up perspective. And so we run that workshop. We looked at the fifth chakra, which is communication, and then yoga poses that can help to unlock it, and a couple of writing and from like self-development experience exercises that can let you get the stuff that you're unwilling to communicate outside of you, in ways where you don't have to verbally use it. Because sometimes talking only gets you so far. And talking is great. I'm not saying don't talk, but talking is a big, great way to deal with things. And sometimes we gotta sneak at it different ways, whether that's body work or painting and drawing, or, as you know, as an artist, like finding other avenues beyond verbal to express what's like stuck, or what's kind of causing that.
And some of the questions you asked us, it was an exercise we did before the workshop started, and I thought it was really powerful. And I'm not stealing your workshop material. No. But some of the questions I remembered is like, what are some of the words that you always associate yourself with that could be very unfair? And do you still remember? I know this.
Yeah, it's like the question I asked was like, what are the things that that you say to yourself that you would never speak out loud? Like the 5 worst things that you say about yourself that you would never ever say about somebody else. And then what are the 5 or 10? I think what are the 5 things that you have thought about saying to other people and have never said? And this question came from one of the courses that I was in, or still in actually, and it's fascinating what happens when people start to confront it. People actually start to take like an honest look, and there are many times where I absolutely don't want to, or I pretend like things are fine, and then I actually like deal with what's actually underneath it, and sometimes it's not pretty, and it's not comfortable, and it's not normal or safe, but it's the conversations that get to arise out of that are some of the richest conversations you can have. Like one of the ones that I called my mom like 3 weeks ago, and she was seeing somebody before who had some alcohol issues, and something I never would have said to my mom before. I was like, Mom, it seems like you find people to fix, and you take care of them, and you nurture them, and I'm wondering where that comes from, and why do I see that like with the rest of us in the family? And I was like, thought out, I think that you're better than that, and I never would have said that to you before, but I love you enough to say that to you. And it just spurred this whole hour conversation about the things that we don't say to each other, that I made up at age 7 that I can't make my mom upset. You can't make her cry. You don't want to do anything to upset your mom because she's just going to cry. And then we're like, no, she's an adult. She's 57 years old. She can handle what you have to say.
Interesting. So it turns out she was okay.
She was great about it. But it's like we hold people like they're babies. Like they can't handle what we're about to say. Like that we need to protect them from something. And in doing so, you actually hurt them.
Yeah, this is really interesting because why am I doing everything 5 years after you did?
You're doing it when you do it.
Exactly. Go at your own pace. And I had the exact same feelings for my mom as well, because we're very close. We were so close. It's that perfect circle, that perfect relationship. You can't possibly damage it, ruin it. And I waited 29, 30 years until I opened up to my mom about the fact that she sent me away to focus on her career, sent me away for about 4 years between the ages 6 to 10. That really hurt me. And I started to realize that that experience shaped me into who I am today, and still influenced me in terms of the decisions I make or how I make them.
Right.
And she was very shocked. I don't think she was able to talk to me for a couple of days. And then she started, unlike your mom, she couldn't really handle that. Yeah, and she couldn't talk to me for quite some time. She finally opened up. Let's just say it took some time, and she apologized to me for the first time in my life. And she kept apologizing. My mom, it's actually okay now. So it's interesting. I think it reminds me of one thing I find it very intriguing about you is you are not just a unicorn who's making everybody so happy, everything is like gonna be great. You actually evoke reactions. And some reactions are happiness, calmness. Some of them are tough, like make you think about question some of the things you but then the outcome is you're very glad that you did that. And I think to your point, like being the teacher, you're responsible for not only creating the environment but also foster very healthy conversations, sometimes an internal dialogue that happens. That's so fascinating. So is it the case that your parents always supported you to be a dancer, to be a singer?
No. Mom more than dad. I think dad would still love me to be a doctor. And he appreciates what I do. It's not that he doesn't appreciate everything that I do at all. I came up to my mom when I was 14, came up to my sister when I was 10, and I came up to my dad when I was 18. And the journey of my dad and I getting closer is still happening. But in the beginning it was not pretty, not at all. Like my dad and I didn't talk for a while, and very hit or miss, not being on the same page. My mom is a singer as well, so she played I think 2 or 3 instruments growing up. She ended up going to college with the head of the voice department at the Boston Conservatory, so when I got my acceptance letter, she knew who she was. So like, my mom has always been an artist, and my dad's an artist too, just in a different way. Like, he'll tell you himself, he didn't really do the best in college. It's not how his brain works. He's an artist of being with people. Like, he's a master at like relating to people and being with people. He works with custodians for a living. Like, so he treats them like kings. So he knows how to be with people from whether you're the CEO of a company or whether you're the one who is mopping up the floors and everybody's gone. My dad is supportive of who I am and loves me unconditionally. Wasn't the case always, but he knows how happy it makes me, and I think just having his son be happy is what he's most concerned about, whatever that is. There was a point where I almost left the conservatory. I was like, Dad, I'm done with theater. This isn't for me. It's funny because I was like, I want to go into personal training and exercise science. I'm really fascinated by that. And he got on the phone and he said, look, you finish your degree. You do what you got to do to finish it. And if you need to do something after, then you do it. But finish your degree. And I never asked him why that came about. He's still alive. I just never asked him, I haven't asked him why that. Like, why were you so committed to me finishing my degree? My sister has always been, not always, she and I butted heads for about 2.5 years solid. Lo and behold, we're on the same page. It just had different ways of expressing it. I couldn't hear it, what she was saying, and it was just brother and sister. It's just part of the sibling growing up. But she and I become really close, and then supportive of her, and really she's supportive of me, and they're actually both going to come out for the musical. But yeah, they're there now.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
How long? You might not even remember this, because sometimes I have trouble recalling the duration of something at this point. And sometimes I feel like people we're from the same generation,
right.
Even though 6 years for our age is still a pretty big gap. But I want people to know. I want people to openly talk about this. That sometimes friction between people, especially the people that you love and care about the most, with the knots that you create, that takes time to resolve.
It takes time, and having knots isn't a bad thing.
True. Yeah.
I think we get so quick to you have a different opinion than I do. Like, I have to do whatever I can to be on the same page and agree or see your point of view. And sometimes you ain't gonna do it.
Yeah, we're different people. We're
You're different, and you're gonna work different ways, and that's totally fine. Like, the world is not gonna crumble if you don't get along with somebody or a family member. Life will still move on, and you'll still be able to do what you love to do, even if a family member or a friend doesn't agree with it. One of my best friends, we've had disagreements about relationships and sexuality, and what is monogamy, like what defines monogamy, like all these different avenues, and we've had different points of view, and just being okay with it. It's a healthy discourse. It's a healthy thing to have people in your life for a little bit of devil's advocate. Or I just had this experience a couple hours ago, like just having somebody press up against what's actually coming out of your mouth. That's good. That's actually a really good thing. The world wouldn't work the way it worked if we didn't have people who didn't have the same points of view as us.
Interesting. Life would be pretty boring now I think about it. Life
would be pretty boring, and
I agree. That sounds great.
It's
That's what I was thinking already.
and it's sucky. Part of my friends, it's shitty that it leads to certain outcomes like war and protests and circumstances that we're currently in right now too, with Ferguson and the Eric Gardner case and all of that, like these unhealthy outcomes of discourses of different points of view, that in those circumstances, if we could be all on the same page about it, would make a world of a difference. But in other avenues of life, it's nice to have that healthy. It's not even like either or. It's like a one house has many rooms in this house, and you can all fit in this house. It's not like you're outside of what's happening in the world. It's not like you and then there's the world. Like you're in it. And to have all those different flavors of how to look at the world is great. There are many parts of the world I have no clue about. Like I went to high school and didn't even take chemistry. Like I took 2 years of human biology, and that was my chemistry experience. So like some things I have no idea how like chemicals bond together and all of that stuff. Like that is like not in my league, and yet I have friends who are scientists, and that's what they do for a living. Or like the world of business. Like I know some business, but like some people are masters at the world of business, and their brain just works that way. They've trained it to work that way. Or some would say that they're hardwired. I don't necessarily agree or disagree with that, but it's like some people are really that's how they work. And so it's like, wow, I would never think of looking at that situation that way if it were just me and we all agreed that way.
Do you think that some people are just born open-minded and welcoming, or do you think it's so much of it has to do with our upbringing?
I don't have like a solid answer on that. How I've seen it in different ways and read about it in different ways is like nature made the gun and then nurture pulled the trigger. So like there's a whole world of like, I think it's called epigenetics, which is like your family's history is in your genes, right? And then there's this whole world of like gray matter, and like that who you are is very malleable and shiftable. So I can't say which way it is for me, but like I know for sure I didn't choose to be gay. Like I didn't just like choose one day to be gay. Like that's just how I am, right? But there are certain things that one could say are malleable, like character and trust and compassion and forgiveness. That they have chemical. I think some of them do have chemical like responses that happen when you have those experiences, but there's so much about that that's still malleable that it can't just be like, this is the one way. You know, all I know is I'm really thankful that there are people who are out to look for that, so that people can have some exposure to different ways of looking at it.
Yeah, I think it's both. And when you think about especially nature versus nurture, there's so many elements. Upbringing sounds like this one thing, but it really varies experiences and pieces. The twists and turns that, that kind of shape us into who we are today. And, you brought up sexuality, and I'm really interested in, this sounds, it sounds funny, but I feel like so many people need to be educated on this subject. And I think you need to be open-minded to listen to someone to tell you their true stories. And I think a lot of people, either people who respect or object, especially people who object, is a lot of that has to do with insecurity. And I think that really comes across in life more than just you're gay, I'm not, or I think people don't understand so many things in life, and all they want to do is they want to just close the door, they want to shut it down, so they never find out why. But I'm interested in sort of learning more about that. And today on my way to work, and I was thinking like, oh man, when I start covering this topic, I might get a little emotional. I thought about, nobody, in my opinion, I'm not a doctor, but nobody chooses to be gay or not. And I thought about my own personal struggle in 31 years in relationships and all that. The worst I've ever had was someone, my family or my friends, didn't necessarily approve. That was a big struggle. But, what was it like growing up for you?
I didn't really have it hard.
Good.
I didn't really I came up to my mom when I was 14 on an orange Post-it note. Said I was gay. She asked if I liked this girl named Brittany Krabenhoff. I said nope. And then I ended up continuing being gay. My dad had more of a struggle with it. He's had some experiences that have shaped how he views what it means to be gay and what kind of implications that could have. I didn't really have... I went to the conservatory too, where I would say 75% to 80% of my class in musical theater was gay. So it's like, you're gay, so what? What else about you? That shaped how I view people. And so it's a great, there's a culture to being gay that just goes with being gay, and there's a culture to being straight that goes with being straight, right? And not saying one's better or worse, or that you're not going to hear other sides of it, but for me it wasn't a big issue in high school or college. I got beat up once in junior high, and that was it. So it definitely has an impact on how I view the world, but it doesn't necessarily be the defining thing of me.
Did you grow up in Massachusetts? Or?
I grew up in Minnesota, right outside of Fargo, North Dakota.
Oh.
So I grew up in the Midwest. But my friends didn't care either. That wasn't really the big topic of conversation. I really didn't date in high school. Just focused on my studies and my friends. And just enjoyed it. So
I really hope every story, I wish every story was like this.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
And I've always felt comfortable around, not just sexuality, I've always felt comfortable with people of different sexualities, different personality. Well, it's tough too, but ethnicities, and I choose to be surrounded by people who come from such different backgrounds. I just find life to be so much richer and interesting as a result of that.
It is. There's a good quote, I'm totally going to butcher it right now, but it's go talk to somebody who is blue collar or white collar. Go talk to somebody who lives in a totally different social class. Go talk to somebody who lives in a completely different country. Go talk to somebody who is 10 years old. Go talk to somebody who's 80. Yeah. Just talk to strangers.
Yeah.
It's where you learn a lot about you and how you not only to manage conversations, to try to control them and see where they go, but also a great way to just look at the world through a different lens.
And there's so many hidden gems that are so fascinating, and I think so many of us make assumptions about people, scenarios, and for instance, this sounds really funny, is when I was in San Diego traveling there for work, and I was with my mom, we went to this art show, and a couple of guys, actually a son and a father, and we started talking, and I started bragging about me being a skateboarder between the age of 9 and 13, and I just kept going on and describing the tricks, and then I found that the guy was actually a pro skater. And I felt really embarrassed, and I was just me being 22, 23 at the time, and more recently I came across this gentleman at work, and this guy was not particularly like super build, muscular, and he had a mohawk on. He's very friendly. He carried like a little Hello Kitty lunchbox his daughter made for him. And I was joking. I thought he's like, oh, he's probably a pushover. He's a nice guy. And I found out that he was, I think he was a Navy SEAL. He was a trained military. He was actually a sniper. And you just don't know. So people stop making assumptions about what you think you know. Like, be open-minded and be fascinated by what the world has to offer to you.
You have no clue.
Yeah.
We think we even know ourselves. Like we think we know, period. Like you have no idea what the other person's been through, and you have no idea who you are or could become. Like we walk around like know-it-alls, thinking we know everything about ourselves and other people, myself included. You know, I'm not outside of that at all. But the privilege is not knowing. Like, life's a lot more fun when you don't know. Like, there's so much more to dive into. Like, the course that I'm taking right now is all about being in the unknown and being okay with the unknown and exploring the unknown. Not to get somewhere, but for the sake of exploring, for the sake of just being in the unknown.
And then it's one of the things I love all the instructors. I just love the studio.
It's a great studio. Yeah.
You know, all you guys are friends, and there's like you trust each other. You're like brothers and sisters. I remember one of the things that Rachel said during a class was, if you feel unbalanced today, if you can't lift yourself up today, what if you're okay with that? What if this is all the strength you have today?
Yep.
Can you be okay with that?
Yep.
And I thought it was really powerful because that day in particular, I was probably losing my balance and I had a long day. I did not have the flexibility, but I made an effort to be here and to connect with myself versus staying late at work and making that decision instead. And I thought it was, so, you know, basically the opposite energy of what we talked about at the beginning of the podcast is we always have to be better each day, each minute of every day. But instead to say, what if I'm okay? What if I can be respectful of myself? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Maybe I can be a better person as a result.
Acceptance and forgiveness are two superpowers. They're just superpowers. Like acceptance of not saying you agree with it or even like it, but just like acceptance, like accepting something exactly as it is in this moment. And then forgiveness, not only for others but for self, like forgiving yourself for whether the actions that you took or the thoughts that you had or what you said to somebody might not have come across exactly how you wanted it to, but those two worlds of like acceptance and forgiveness like are radical. They're pretty amazing places to live in.
And I think the theme of who you are, as you were describing, was appreciation. I think those two superpowers, I think, really fosters or conditions appreciation as a result.
It does. Yeah, I think the acceptance really, it allows you to come from a baseline of where you're at. Like there's nothing missing and there's something that needs to be added. So that level of appreciation. I think forgiveness is a little bit more about, I don't know if appreciation comes from forgiveness, but I would say that something that arises out of forgiveness is connection. Like forgiving yourself and others for what has done or hasn't been done, or what you said or what they said, allows for something else to show up, like something else to be created, a connection or a partnership of some sort to come out of that. Not
create space around yourself too. I think in this day and age we are so conditioned to be so tightly bounded, and you can't react when that's the case. I've wanted to. I think this room is perfect. I would love to get some of your singing.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Juicy. I'm a huge fan of what you do at the end of the class. And the only other time I heard that song was when I was, believe it or not, when I was going through certification training years ago, like 10 years ago, with a couple of Indian teachers. That was the only time. And you brought it back. And then I went on YouTube and I realized you sing, professionally at all these. And it wasn't even the best recording ever, but I could just hear. As an artist, I have appreciation and the sensory to really know what that's like.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I am gonna record. You can start and whenever you want, and so I'm just gonna be your audience and.
I'll pick a few. I have about 5 or 6 that I usually sing. So
yes. We should release an album.
Let's not go that far yet. I'll pick a few. So this one is Om Namo. And Satnam Kaur sings a really good version of it, so I'll do my best. Oh my beloved, kindness of the heart and breath of life, I bow to you. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And Gurudev Namo. And Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. That's the first one. I'll do one more. First time I heard the song, it's Aguren, which for what I know just means like all-knowing guru, like whatever formless name guru, wise, higher power, whatever that name may be. And I heard I think it was Devi Premal who sang it, but it's just a click. There's something so simple and pure about it. So I'm gonna do that one next. So, yeah. Argure Name Jugar Gure Name and Sar Gure Name and Siri Gurudev
There's like one YouTube video I saw last night. It was, I don't remember the song exactly. Is there something that there's something like either modern or I don't know.
Yeah, there's. I'm a big jazz standard guy.
Jazz
like
is good.
That's where my voice fits. So I love the newness of you. That's like my go-to. I can do that for you.
Very special.
Okay. It's not the pale moon that excites me, that thrills and delights me. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you. It isn't your sweet conversation that brings this sensation. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you. When you're in my arms and I feel so close to me, all my wildest dreams come true. It isn't. I totally forgot the words. I need no soft light to enchant me, if you only grant me the right to feel you ever so tight, and to feel in the night the nearness of you.
Oh man, I'm so spoiled. You make me feel like I cannot stop podcasting and capture moments like this. And
Don't stop.
Yeah. It's so special, and trust me, I indulge myself in my own podcasts. You know, yeah.
Good.
This is so cool. You know, sometimes I leave, it's like, I wish I asked that question, but it's not that important. You know, it's about this moment, and you're so open. This is not a professional recording studio, and I think, you know, singers, artists who are very more self-conscious just because how they are conditioned. Like, I can't do this until this is the very best setup, everything's perfect, I'm feeling the best, then I can reveal myself. But I just find, you know, I think you encourage me to kind of find beauty in just a moment, this moment.
To listen to more episodes of the Feisworld podcast, please subscribe on iTunes or visit feisworld.com. That is FEISWORLD, where you can find show notes, links, other tools, and resources. You can also follow me on Twitter at Feisworld. Until next time, thanks for listening.